Hello everyone, this is Mr. Harper. Brand new unit here. We're going to talk about the digestive system and your body's metabolism. Now, start a little bit. Let's define metabolism. Metabolism is the rate that your body uses energy. And where do you get energy from? Your food. And what does your digestive system do? It breaks down food. So these are all intertwined. So let's get started. To give a really brief overview of the digestive system, it starts at your mouth. Includes your salivary glands, your esophagus, a long tube that takes the food down into your stomach. From there, the food moves into your small intestines. Here they are, all coiled around through here. And in the small intestines, you have some glands like your liver and your gallbladder and your pancreas that add things in. And then from there, the food, well, I shouldn't say food, but the waste moves into your large intestine. Large intestine coils around, actually comes, this way. Large intestine, then around, and waste goes out the anus. The last part of the large intestine is called the rectum. So that's a brief overview. So let's look at some of these parts. So first, let's talk about the phases of digestion. The first phase is ingestion. That means you're actually consuming food. Ingesting means you're getting the food into your body, into your mouth. The second phase is digestion. We're taking down that ingested food and we're breaking it down into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces or molecules. The third phase is absorption. That food that's been digested is now going to move out of our digestive system into our blood, where it can be carried to all parts of our body that need that food. The last phase is elimination. That's the part where our body removes anything that we could not digest, could not break down. So those are the four phases. So let's talk about types of digestion. There are two types. The first kind is called mechanical digestion. Mechanical means something physical is happening. We are chewing, we are pushing, we are mashing, we are cutting on the food. So churning or mixing. One of the things that is used for, mechanical digestion are our teeth. They cut and mash. That's a big physical digestion part. Another part of physical or mechanical digestion is our stomach. It physically can move and churn and push on the food. So that's types of mechanical digestion. The second kind of digestion is called chemical. Chemical is where enzymes and acids are used to break down the food molecules into even smaller pieces. So, for example, carbohydrates are broken down into the simple sugars that they're made out of. Proteins are broken down into the amino acids that they are made out of. Fats are broken down into fatty acids and alcohols that they are made out of. So, let's talk about the two main groups of digestive organs. The first of the organs that form the alimentary canal, or your gastrointestinal tract. It's a continuous hollow tube that runs through your body. It starts at your mouth and ends at your anus. It's over 30 feet long. It's all coiled up to fit inside of you because, of course, you're not 30 feet long. So that's the first kind of organs. And they include things like the mouth, the pharynx, which is the back of your throat, the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, the large intestine, the rectum, and ends with the anus. Those are the organs that form or are the alimentary canal. The second set of organs are called the digestive accessory organs. And they're organs that contribute fluids to the digestive process, contribute fluids into the alimentary canal. Things like your salivary gland, your liver, your gallbladder, your pancreas. So up here, these are the organs of the alimentary canal, all through here, with the exception of the liver that's shown there. Here are the accessory digestive organs, the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder right in there. They're all part of the digestive system as accessory organs. Here's your alimentary canal. If you could really break it down, how long each piece is. Here's your mouth, there's your tongue, and these represent some of your salivary glands. And then you have the esophagus leading down into your stomach. And your stomach is about this big. And here's this actually part of the pancreas. And then you have the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine. The small intestine starts right here. And look at the size of the small intestine compared to the mouth, the esophagus, and the stomach. It goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and finally becomes the large intestine in comparison ending in the anus. So you can see that the biggest part of the digestive tract of the alimentary canal is the small intestine. Don't worry about the duodenum and the ileum. The duodenum we'll talk about tiny bit. We're not going to worry about the names of each part as much. So let's talk a little bit about those alimentary canal organs in detail. The oral cavity, the mouth, your teeth, and the salivary glands begin when food enters your mouth and digestion starts. Mechanical digestion starts by chewing the food. There's a technical term for that. It's called mastication. And that is chewing up and grinding up the food. That is a mechanical digestion. But there's also chemical digestion going on in the mouth. Saliva has an enzyme in it called amylase. And amylase breaks down carbohydrates into simple sugars in your mouth. So you have both mechanical and chemical digestion occurring in the mouth. And that digestion begins and forms what is called a bolus. A bolus is a masticated, chewed up clump of food that's all mixed with saliva that will then be swallowed. Bolus is swallowed. And before it can be swallowed, the salivary glands mix saliva. There's a mixture of mucus and serous fluids in your saliva. Mucousy fluid is real thick, serous is thinner. Together they make up your saliva. It helps to lubricate your food so that that bolus is slippery and can slide, or be pushed, I should say, down the esophagus more effectively. And as I said earlier, it's called amylase. Here's your salivary glands. There are three sets of them, actually. You've got a submandibular gland below your mandible, your lower jaw, sublingual gland right underneath of your tongue, and you have this parotid gland on each side of your face up around your ears. Oops. So that food then goes from the mouth, it goes to the pharynx, which is the back of your throat. So here's your tongue, here's your oral cavity right here, where your mouth. Up here, this is your nasal cavity, where your nose. And they connect back here in this area called the pharynx. This little thing right here is called the uvula. If you look in your mouth, you see that little hanging ball thing in the back of your mouth. That's the uvula. So this pharynx is an area here in the back of your mouth. You could breathe air. You would go through the pharynx and down into your larynx, into your lungs. Or you could breathe in air this way, and that same thing would happen. Or you can eat food or drink water. It goes back into this pharynx and then goes down the esophagus. And there's a little piece of tissue here called the epiglottis right here that comes down and closes over top of the larynx, which goes down into trachea. And that goes down when you drink food or water to force that food or water to go down the esophagus. And if you've ever taken a drink of water and then started to cough, it's because you've fooled yourself and the epiglottis didn't close and that food and water went down the larynx into the trachea instead into the lungs, which doesn't like to have water or food in it, and then you start to cough to try to get it out. So swallowing is a reflex. It causes that epiglottis to move and block the trachea, the windpipe, or more technically called the trachea. And the esophagus opens to receive the bolus. So when you swallow, here's the bolus. Passes here further down and then comes down and goes down right here down the esophagus. This trachea is a bigger tube. It's in the front, anterior. Oops. And the esophagus is a smaller tube, posterior and back. The esophagus is a quote-unquote food tube. It links the stomach to the mouth. It goes right through this muscle called the diaphragm. This muscle that helps you to breathe. It moves up and down each time that you inhale and exhale. If you've ever been running and have cramp in your side, that's your diaphragm that's doing that. But the Food goes down the esophagus, straight through your thoracic cavity, into your abdominal cavity, into your stomach, slightly off to the left side of your body and almost up underneath your rib cage. And there are muscles in the esophagus that squeeze to push the food down to your stomach. It doesn't just fall by gravity. You physically push it down. And that pushing of the food is got a term, it's called peristalsis. So you have a push and food goes down, then push, it goes down, then push, it goes down, and this bolus eventually ends up in the stomach. And that's called peristalsis, waves of muscle contraction that gets it into your stomach. So we're going to stop right there. Next time we'll take up and continue our discussion talking about the stomach.